Hello, friends, and thank you for tuning in. My name, of course, is Ben Ochart, and I welcome you to the channel. And today I have something very special for you. I have a Zoom call, an interview with Mike Noce. Mike from Fritz Aquatics, a brand of aquarium products that I've come to trust over the years through personal use of the product. And so I reached out to Mike because some of you are asking questions about these products that claim to cycle a tank immediately, products that claim that they can make a tank ready for fish right away. A lot of you were skeptical. A lot of you claim that you don't see how that's possible. I get it. Let's find out right from the source, right from Fritz. Let's find out the truth about beneficial bacteria in a bottle. Let's go. Okay, so welcome to today's video, and I thank you for joining us. I'm very happy to welcome Mike Noce. Mike Noce from Fritz, and he is Mike. Tell us a little bit about yourself. You've been with Fritz for a while. You're very familiar with the company, and tell me a little bit about yourself and Fritz just in general before we jump into the topic of bacteria.
Okay. I've been at Fritz for 20 years. Right now, I am over the specialty division at Fritz. Fritz is a multi-divisional chemical and biological manufacturer. We sell into different industries. Fritz, there was a man named Fritz. He was an inventor, and he invented a lot of products for a lot of different industries. So when I first started, we had a pet division, we had a floor tile division, they had an oil field division. Some of that's gone away, but basically I'm over the specialty division that handles anything. They like to call it life science as well. So we make pet products, basically aquatic products. We sell into professional aquaculture. We sell into professional facilities, zoos, public aquariums, things like that. We're working on hydroponic and aquaponic fertilizers. So it seems like anything water-based, that's my division. So I have a team that works under me that sells into pets. They sell the Fritz Aquatics brand. So I'm over the division as a whole, and then aquatics, the Fritz Aquatics retail is part of that. So again, I'm sorry.
If you don't mind me asking, how many employees, not just in your division, but in general, how large is Fritz?
I think right now, it's been a little bit of downturn, of course. I think we're right around 250, 260, I think right now. 260, 250 staff? Yes. And we have several facilities. We have our facility here I'm in Mesquite, Texas, which is just east of Dallas. We have a large facility in Greenville, Texas, a manufacturer in Greenville, Texas, which is further out east. And we have an R&D facility in Houston as well. So,
I'm sorry, what was that third one?
It's an R&D facility in Houston for
okay.
oil field.
So you're entirely Texas based. Was the
Correct.
Company started in Texas?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Is Fritz the founder still around, or has he passed on?
No, Fritz passed away about 10 years ago.
Okay.
And the company's now employee owned. He left the company to the employees. And he was a good guy. I worked with him for 10 years. Loved aquariums were his hobby, and that's why he started. He was a chemist and inventor, and he saw potential in products that didn't exist, and he would throw things at it, and he came up with some real good winners, some products that he was a pioneer in developing.
Nice.
And nitrifying bacteria is one of those.
Sounds like a real entrepreneur kind of a.
Absolutely, he's a hero. He pays my mortgage. He employed a lot of people. He's a great man, in my opinion.
That's great.
Yeah.
And so the topic for today is this bacteria in a bottle. I know you have a bottle there somewhere you held up before we started. Yeah, that's it. The magic sauce that and recently recently on my channel, I talked about the starting up of several aquariums, just starting from scratch. And so I needed a product that I could trust. In the past, I'd used other products, and but I'd heard some real good things about Fritz. And so I went with the Fritz Turbo 7, I think it's called, the Fritz 7 product.
There's Fritz Zyme 7.
Fritz Zyme 7, thank you.
And there's TurboStart, Fritz Zyme TurboStart 700.
That's right. The 700. I have a big bottle of the Turbo 700 in the fridge, which is the refrigerated product.
Yes,
and
it's
the
concentrated.
Fritz Zyme is the one that doesn't need refrigeration.
Correct.
Now, when I was putting out those videos, I was getting comments under the videos about how can that be? How can something sit on a shelf, in particular with the unrefrigerated product? How can something sit on a shelf and not, and maintain a colony of live bacteria for any length of time? And how can that really still work? And some of the old school, hey, you need to drop a shrimp in there, or you need to pour some ammonia in your tank, and stop relying on these products, blah, 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 right? Yep. My experience with the product, of course, is very positive, as I reported in my videos. But it got me thinking that there's probably a lot of folks out there who look at this, somewhat skeptically, or
sure.
Think it's some sort of an aquarium voodoo or something. So I wanted to find out from you, right from the horse's mouth, if you will, how is it that can happen, that you can add something to a tank and really almost immediately, in my case, within a day. Tell me a little bit about how this product works and why you think it should be a trusted part of a fish keeper's medicine chest, if you will, when they're starting up a new tank.
Sure, and people have every right to be skeptical, because there are a large amount of products that make the same claims we make that are not legitimate nitrifying bacteria. There's basically two types of bacteria sold in the industry. There's heterotrophic bacteria, which are very hardy. And again, I'm not a microbiologist. I've worked with microbiologists for 20 years. I've worked with chemists here. My degree is in advertising and marketing. So, but I've been around. I've been here long enough and worked with my microbiologist to. I think I have a level of expertise. But again, I'm not a microbiologist. But basically, to keep it simple, there's two types of bacteria. First is heterotrophic bacteria. Heterotrophic bacteria, very hardy. They are spore forming, so they can be dried. We sell a lot of this. This is what our Fritz Zyme 360 is. It's a bacteria that has a very long shelf life, and they basically feed on organic carbons. That's what breaks down the muck in your tank, or dead leaves, or leftover food. They're naturally occurring. They grow very rapidly. That's more of a maintenance type product, and that's what a lot of companies sell as nitrifiers, and they do, to a small degree, bring in ammonia and nitrite as they're processing, but they're not what's responsible for the cycle. So there's heterotrophic bacteria, then there's autotrophic bacteria, which are nitrifiers. Nitrifiers are they consume inorganic carbon, so they're actually consuming carbonate. As they're consuming carbonates, they use ammonia and nitrite to do that. So there's different species. There's a species that converts ammonia to nitrite, or versus convert, let's say, oxidize. And then another set of species that converts nitrite to nitrate, and then you get rid of nitrate by water changes. So Fritz found a way. Fritz used to import a lot of fish back in the day, and he started bringing a lot of Africans and who require a higher pH. And as everyone should know, the higher the pH, the more toxic ammonia is. So Fritz, and this is 30 years ago, Fritz started put together some infrastructure to grow these bugs. And if you go on YouTube and look up Fritz Zyme TurboStart, there is a video showing our systems. We have very large tanks that we start with a seed culture. We feed those bugs ammonia and carbonates and some proprietary trace elements that we found get them going. We look for a certain feed curve where ammonia is being removed and nitrates being produced. We then centrifuge that material down and reconstitute it into several dilutions, which is 7 and 700. Then we have an even more concentrated product we sell into aquaculture, which is 10 times the concentration of TurboStart.
So this would be like to like a public aquarium that's starting up a large public aquarium type of.
Sure. Like, well, the biggest example, we did this. We have a customer in Singapore who does brood stock for shrimp, for saltwater shrimp. And he was bringing in 60 gallons of TurboStart at a time, shipping to Singapore, and the freight was more than the product. So we took the thick material that we centrifuge down, and it has a very short shelf life, but he uses it as soon as he gets it, and it does the trick for him. So,
so you mentioned a couple points that are very important. One of them is, I think, that Mr. Fritz, the original, and was he a doctor, by the way?
No.
Okay, we'll just call him Mr. Fritz. Okay. It was out of necessity, you're saying, and you mentioned that the point because he was bringing in these African cichlids, which of course are very near and dear to my heart. But an important point you made, of course, is that the higher pHs increase the toxicity. And this is something that the beginning or everyday fish keeper might not be aware of.
Right.
These high pHs, these 7.5 to 8.5 pH levels make ammonia highly toxic.
Absolutely.
Whereas
under 7, it's not.
Under 7, it's not even a concern.
Right.
So this is interesting, very interesting. And so because he's bringing this kind of fish in, he couldn't have ammonia spikes because they were deadly.
Yes. And he was the type of man who saw opportunities and would go full bore. And he saw a need for this product, and it's been around. Again, it's been around 30 years. He was a great inventor, but I don't think he was that great a marketer. So, I took the brand over about 10 years ago. We want people to be successful. That's the biggest cause of people getting out of the hobby. They get into an aquarium, they load it up with fish. The fish die in 5 days. They take the tank out, rinse it out, set it back up, put more fish in. All the fish die in 5 days, then they put it off on the curb. And you don't want that. You want people to be successful, and it's hard for people to be patient. Also, they don't want to. You can do it the natural way and set it up and put one fish in and watch it, wait a little while, add another one, and take 4 to 5 weeks. Or basically, our product is the bacteria that you're waiting to establish itself in 4 to 5 weeks to handle that certain ammonia level. Let's say. I think that we target 4 parts per million. So that's a lot of fish for 4 parts per million. So you can put a decent load of fish in a tank immediately, and you're throwing in the bacteria that would have taken 4 to 5 weeks to establish to handle that ammonia without the danger of ammonia spiking. So that's all it is. It's a shortcut, and it's a natural shortcut. And there's no snake oil or anything to it. It is what it is. So
if somebody uses this Fritz product, and they say, okay, look, I used it according to instructions and I still had die off. Let's talk a little bit about troubleshooting, because I used it according to the label, probably even more conservatively than most, which makes me think of another question. Can you overdose this product in a tank?
You can overdose anything. We've tested up to 5 times. So I don't think anyone's going to overdose up to 5 times. You don't want the fish swimming in it, but you know.
Okay. Okay.
So of
So
course
you
you can
need it
overdose.
diluted. You need it diluted to some degree.
Yeah, you can overdose it, but the prescribed dose is pretty aggressive dose. It's handled. It's supposed to handle like 4 parts per million ammonia within 24 hours. So, we want people to be successful. So we give a very aggressive dose, and we also give a very aggressive shelf life. On the TurboStart, we have 6 months, but we've tested a product that's gone 9, 10, 11 months, and it's still meeting our requirements. But, again, it is a perishable product and things happen in shipping. So we don't want to overextend or overpromise. We'd rather dial it in to ensure people are successful.
Okay. And you mentioned, like on troubleshooting, somebody says, okay, look, I used it according to label. I added, let's say for the sake of the example, I added 10 fish to a 75-gallon tank that had some plants in it, and I had a die-off. What would be the first thing that you would suspect might have gone wrong in this application?
Yeah, if we get that call, first of all, we'd like people to share their parameters for us. We hope people are checking, pH, ammonia, nitrite. Make sure if they call me and say my ammonia is 3 yeah, that's what killed your fish. But there's other things. People need to maybe educate themselves and call a company like ours prepared. Know your parameters. Don't say your product killed my fish. Well, hold on. Did you dechlorinate your water? There's lots of things. So, if someone called and said, first I'd make sure they dechlorinated their water, because if people set up a new tank and put turbo in or Fritz Zyme 7 in without dechlorinating, chlorine's going to kill that bacteria immediately. So dechlorinated water. Second, UV sterilizer. If you have a UV sterilizer on, it's also going to kill that bacteria. Nitrifiers, they don't live in the water column. They fall out of the water column and begin colonizing the media. They like dark, rich oxygen. So they find the best place to colonize and start colonizing that surface. So depending on temperature, we say it's good to leave off once you're adding this product, it's good to wait 4 or 5 days before turning your UV sterilizer on. By then, all that product should have fallen out of the water column and is colonizing the media. If you have an established tank, you can drain that thing down to the gravel, move it, set it up with new water, and usually you don't have any kind of ammonia spike because all that bacteria is in the gravel and the media, everything like that. So that's the second thing.
Two very important points you mentioned, Mike. One, don't run your UV sterilizer because you're going to kill the bacteria while it's in the water column before it's had a chance to settle.
Yeah.
So hold off on the UV sterilizer.
Yep.
And second, be sure that you have treated the water with something like a Fritz Complete product.
Yeah.
To neutralize chlorine.
Chlorine.
I misspoke. Yes. The chlorine added by your local water treatment plant is going to kill the bacteria, which is what it's designed to do.
Yeah.
And so be sure you treat your water first and then add your Fritz product. Okay, good. Two very important points that I bet you have been missed sometimes. Adding.
So if someone complains, that's the first 2 things you ask. The third thing is, again, let's find out what your parameters are. Is it possible they got a bottle that was expired, or they got, if nitrifiers freeze, they're dead. Is it, it's possible their local store they bought it from threw it in the freezer. It happens, not often, but if all things are exhausted, usually we'll say something happened to the product in transport somehow. But more than likely, it's something happened along the way. In freshwater, we do see very, very low alkalinity being a problem. If you have very low alkalinity, you're not going to have the bacteria have nothing to feed on, and they'll stall. So we say usually buffer your water a little bit. With African cichlids, it's not a problem usually. They love that high alk water. In our salt water, we have saltwater bacteria as well. Most marine mixes have everything you need. We have no problem with salt water. Occasionally we'll have a problem with fresh water where if people are using like straight RODI and not buffering it, there's issues there. So
now my thinking was to hurry up after putting it in the tank, and you tell me if my thinking was wrong. my thinking was to hurry up and add fish as soon as I added it, because the bacteria needed to be feeding on something.
Yes, you
Now,
can.
was I thinking straight?
Yeah, you can add fish. You can add fish immediately. Some people don't like to do that. So this is nothing, other companies have that. We just came out with something we call fishless fuel, which is basically ammonia. So if you want to set up a tank without fish, you can, this is a couple drops per gallon, and it raises the ammonia up to, I think, 2 parts per million. You add the TurboStart, you test your parameters when your ammonia and nitrite are 0, which should be 24 hours, you're ready to go. So
basically it gives you a fishless, a clean fishless cycle.
Clean fishless cycle. So this is basically, if you're expecting, if you're buying some fish mail order and you're expecting a colony at Tropheus next Friday, you can set your tank up on Monday, start with this fishless fuel. So, that tank is hardened and the bacteria is working, and then, throw your fish in. And again, once the ammonia is down to 0, so you don't want to add ammonia the day before the fish arrive, just in case. But once everything's settled out, the bacteria is hardened and ready for that bioload. So, but
nice.
You can add with fish. I've set up, when I first started at Fritz, I've been a hobbyist since I was a little kid. I've worked at pet stores. I've worked several different places in the industry. And when I first got here, they told me about the nitrifiers, and I was skeptical too because of all the other products. And they made me set up a 55-gallon in my office, and I'm a cichlid guy, so I filled it up with Mbuna. They said, fill it up, and I filled it up, and it's something I never would have done. And I didn't even have a tinge of ammonia nitrite. Went straight to nitrate. So
wow,
I was a believer.
Made you a believer.
Yeah, and that's how and it has been. It is difficult because there is that paradigm that this product doesn't work. So there's a shift where you have to trust this product. And in the beginning, I would just give some to stores. I would say, here's a good store. Here's a dozen bottles. Give it away, sell it, try it. Once you just replenish it after you realize it. Now it's really taken off. It's people really believe in the product because the product works. It's
it certainly was the case in my 255-gallon tanks.
Is it necessary? Is it necessary? No, but it does give you security. It does give you some insurance. So there's that.
No, I like it.
People want to set up a tank the old school way, and that's fine. But
it's funny because that fuel product that you mentioned is the perfect sort of bridge for the old school person who's still isn't. Well, okay, look here, you can add some ammonia without having to drop a shrimp to rot in your tank. You can do it this way.
There's no way to determine what that dead shrimp is going to produce. This is, you basically follow the drops per gallon. It gives you exactly where you need to be. And so you know what you're working with. And there's not something slowly degrading that you don't know what's going to be from day to day. This is very controlled.
Now, you mentioned something about the refrigerated product. And of course, recently we had some blackouts in Houston that lasted up to 3 days. Yeah. Were some of these vendors contacting you and saying, look, I had no refrigeration for 3 days. Do you want to swap out this fridge? I mean, how does that work actually? I know you were very big when we spoke on the phone on really controlling that supply chain to make sure that products that need to be refrigerated are always refrigerated.
Correct. We only pick distributors that handle refrigerated product and practice first in, first out. TurboStart is available online, even on Amazon, but those vendors who are fulfilling for Amazon, that's not Amazon fulfilling. That's a couple guys that we know, a couple online dealers that know how to handle the product, know how to ship the product. So very, very few complaints through online. Again, I'm an old school, go shop your local dealer guy, so, if we did have a couple dealers who had problems, and we just sent them new product. We want them to be successful. And we help store. If a new store starts up, we send them our product, we'll send them free product to cycle their new store. That's the best way to get them using it. It's a brand new system. We'll send them enough product to cycle their system, and they're believers. So,
kind of like what happened with you and your tank when you first started there.
Yeah. Absolutely. So again, we're very pro independent dealer, and we we want you to shop there. So, and we ship a lot of these dealers. We ship direct to dealer. We go through some distributors, but a lot of dealers buy direct from us. So it's shipped directly next day from us to the dealer into their refrigerator.
So you're essentially, by adding this product, what you're saying is that we're taking this tank to where the old schooler or the old approach would have been at, let's say, on average in about a month. You're going to get me there right now.
Yep.
And I'm going to add a food source for that bacteria in the form of fish right away. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the quality of your product is going to be, and your own quality control and development of the product ensures that it is a viable living, as long as I don't have a UV sterilizer and I'm not putting chlorinated water. I'm not putting it into chlorinated water designed to kill bacteria. As long as I'm following those steps and I follow the recipe, the instructions, the dosage as listed on the bottle, I'm going to have an environment that is going to be able to support waste producing fish. At the same time, you're saying proceed with caution. In other words, still test your water.
Absolutely.
Don't be stupid water about it. Now,
don't overfeed. Yeah. I always tell people, don't overfeed and test your water regularly. Have good husbandry practices. It's not magic.
Someone likes to feed twice a day. Would you say in the ramp up process, maybe go once a day for the first month or so?
Yeah. Feed once a day for the first week or two and then slowly raise it up. It's just being cautious. It's like I told you earlier, this isn't magic in a bottle. There are limitations to it. So, be cautious and again, but you can add a very good load of fish. Most people overfeed anyway, right? So it's just best you just be cautious for the first week or so. And again, have an ammonia test kit, ammonia nitrate test kits and test every few days.
So just do it sensibly.
Absolutely.
Sensibly. On a gradient, some patience, and then you'll get to what I think Corey at the Aquarium Co-op calls a seasoned tank that is now you can feed, and it's got it has the bacteria colony that can pretty much handle anything. Yes. It becomes more bulletproof. Not that you should become sloppy, but you always very good. So I'm sure I'm going to get some questions from some of the folks who watch this. Again, some of the old school skeptics, the person who's going to chime in and say, well, my fish died and blah, blah, blah. But so maybe we'll do a follow-up at some point down the road, maybe to answer some of the questions that appear under the video after I post it. I'd like to find out, only because I'm very interested in Fritz in general. What's your take on upcoming products? Let me first preface that by saying I just used, and I talked about it in a live stream a couple of weeks ago, the Salt Plus product, and I had what I can only refer to as a miraculous result with a fish that a Autopharynx tetrastigma that looked like it had turned into a puffer fish. I thought he was dead for sure. I put him into a quarantine tank, added the Fritz Plus salt product, and within a few days he was back to normal. Osmoregulation, right? He was retaining fluids for some reason.
Was it bloat, do you think? Or
it started with his stomach, and then his eyes. I mean, it really looked like someone had inflated him with a tire pump.
Yeah.
I mean, it looked ridiculous. I thought for sure this looked like one of those exotic goldfish, And
salt's a great natural treatment. Salt helps lots of other treatments work better. There's lots of study on salt dips, things like that. But especially with cichlids, salt is, it's good to have a little bit of salt in the water anyway with those guys. So,
do you have any other? I'd never heard of that fuel, for example, and I did have from the Fritz employee we talked about, Hoot, and I had that container of that was it prebiotic salt, I think it was, from way back. But any other products on the horizon, or any products that are coming up that you're excited about?
We have quite a few saltwater products coming up, but freshwater products, we have some. We're bringing out some beta products coming out. We're doing a dark water extract for Amazonian type fish. We recently came out with our cichlid buffer and our cichlid salt, which, the buffers and salt, everyone's chemistry is very similar. It's basically the quality of the raw materials. And in our salt, we added some of the bacillus bacteria I was talking about earlier. So we have some bacillus in that product that helps kind of a probiotic. It kind of just, you're naturally adding some beneficial bacteria to the tank.
Does it contain the trace minerals like some other Malawi salt products say that they contain trace minerals?
Yes, the salt's kind of it's got trace majors, minors in it to match as close as possible. We did one product that you could dial in the different lakes, and then again we have the buffer also. Anyone can go check out Fritz Aquatics. We have some new medications coming out. We acquired the Mardell brand. We do private label. We manufacture some private label products, and we used to make Mardell when they were owned by Sargent's, and we acquired that brand. So Copper Safe for ick treatment, Maricin 2, which are antibiotic treatments, Maricin Oxy, which is a fungal treatment. We're coming out with some other medications and treatments for fish.
We talked about how I'm a believer in the Maricin product, since it was the one thing that stopped Colomaris in my tank. And I wasn't aware of the Mardell Fritz connection or how that came about, but it was definitely a product. I had tried several other products prior to that one, and that was the one that stopped it cold.
All those products were, I met the guy, there was a guy named Ralph in Florida that he was a ichthyologist that developed all those products for Mardell years and years and years and years ago. And they haven't changed. They're just rock solid. They work, so we're glad we could keep those products around when Sargent's parted with Mardell brand. So we're very excited about acquiring that brand.
So is there anything else, any other parting comment you'd like to make about Fritz? I know in a lot of ways you remind me a little bit of Nuri. I talked about Nuri up at Piscine Energetics. They don't come from a science necessarily background, though they've had a lot of interaction with scientists and researchers and a technical.
I don't know if that's good or bad. You comparing me to Nuri. I like Nuri. I've known Nuri a while. I like Nuri. He's a character.
He's a great guy. I did
absolutely knows his stuff though.
I really enjoyed talking with him. It was a real education. I put out what was called a master class on food, and it's available on as one of the playlists. But he came in the same way. I mean, sort of a love of the hobby.
Yes.
Kind of moved him into the profession. So that way, so what could you share with us just in wrap up here about Fritz that you think that a fish keeper out there who maybe has dabbled in a variety of everything from the APIs to the CCAMs to the but they've never come across Fritz per se. What should they know about Fritz? Why should Fritz be on their radar?
Again, Fritz has been around for well over 30 years. Fritz, the man, developed a lot of the products that are being manufactured by other companies. When it comes to water conditioners and clarifiers, the formulas are all very similar. Fritz is trying to be economical. We're trying to be a brand that really wants to help the independent dealer. We love the hobby. I'm a hobbyist. My whole sales team, I'm lucky that I get to work in something that I love. I've got a lab here that I just placed an order for a bunch of multifasciatus. We're going to do a little shell donor tank. What other job could I do that? I go, so, so we are about, and we want people to be successful. I have been brought product ideas that just won't matter or won't work or everything we sell is, we want to be legitimate and make a difference and make people successful. Because because we all probably start off with one little 10-gallon tank, and now you have how many tanks behind you? It's it's addictive, and you want people to be successful. So that's what we want. We want people with our products to be successful and enjoy the hobby and buy a bigger tank next month. So,
well, in that we share a common purpose.
Mhm.
You know, my purpose is the same as yours, to educate, to inspire, and also, of course, to get that starting fish keeper to not hit that wall that so many hit, and
Yes.
then like you said, the tank goes to the curb. And I
Because
see
there's
it
a,
over
there's
and
a,
over again, and it's usually in the startup
yeah,
where they have the massive die off, and that's where this product, the 7 and the 700, this is something that can help bridge that. And
absolutely.
it's not being provided. I mean, the folks that, and not necessarily a knock on the big box stores, but people walk in there and buy whatever they want, walk out, and there's not really any education process. No one asking,
No.
at least not you on the usual basis, is this your first tank? If it is, can I share something with you? That's not going on. It's just they bag up the fish and the person goes, and like you said, they do a real good cleaning.
Yep. Yep.
Kill any possible bacteria that might be in there, and everything dies off. They decide to give it one more shot, and of course they do the same thing and get the same results. So anyway, you and I are on the same page. Let's help these folks make that transition and become more and more advanced hobbyists. Your strategy is great. It reminds me of Apple. Everybody laughed at Apple when they took all the computers and gave them to the colleges.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then, of course, those became, the Apple army.
Sure. Sure.
So Mike, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking your time. I know you're probably very busy, and I appreciate it. I'm
Absolutely.
personally a friend of
the
Fritz product.
I appreciate, and I got to tell you, we get a lot of YouTubers asking for free product or asking. You came out of the blue. You didn't ask for anything. You used our product without asking for anything free, and you're legit, absolute legit user, and I appreciate that so much. It was refreshing.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. So that concludes my interview with Mike over at Fritz. I hope you got something out of it and enjoyed it. And if you did, please be sure to hit that sub and notification bell if you're getting something out of the channel. And certainly share your comments below, any experience you've had with Fritz products or with instant bacteria, things that are touted or are supposed to get your tank instantly cycled. I'd definitely like to hear what's worked for you and what's not worked. Share your thoughts below. We all learn from each other here on this channel, and your thoughts are very appreciated when you share them in the comments. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I hope to see you at a cichlids and coffee live stream. Those usually occur on Saturdays, even though this coming Saturday, the second Saturday in April 2021, there will be no live stream. I'm going to be on vacation, but the following Saturday, I'll be back. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you to Mike over at Fritz. And that's it for me. Bye-bye.